Hello everyone, this is Kathryn, and today I'm gonna share something that has been on my mind for a very long time, and it takes me a lot of courage to share this. Let's start. Did you lock your door this morning? Did you double check? Did you triple check? Did you park well this morning and make sure your car aligned well with the grid? Did you know that the person who sat on the same chair before you haven't showered for 1 month? How many of you feel the itch in your heart? If you do feel the itch, can you imagine that itch becomes fear and pain and anxiety, and it becomes so strong that it almost breaks down your mind? And you feel like you have to do something about it. You have to fix it. You have to get it back to control. And you want to make sure that you protect others from the same concern that you have. Even if it takes 24 hours, even though you have already done it 3 times in a row, even if you rationally know that it doesn't matter. Also, you know something is wrong in your mind, and you don't want others to know that you are thinking and behaving like this, because you don't want to be seen as a weirdo. For some of us, like me, struggle with this every single day. It is called Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder, OCD. 中文叫强迫症. I'm Kathryn. I'm not a psychologist nor a doctor. I can't tell you professionally what OCD is or how to cure it, but I can share how OCD got me and almost killed me. As a girl who has depressive thoughts since she was 2-years old and has been experiencing OCD symptoms since 15-years old, I have been struggling OCD for more than 10 years at this point. Yet, I'm still joyfully alive. And it is absolutely a miracle that I can now sit here and share my journey and experience with you. So, this is how it all started. I was born and raised in Taiwan, where mental health awareness was limited. When I was a kid, I loved playing in the mud, in the nature. I don't care if I'm clean or dirty. I don't mind touching the ground. I didn't care whether or not I shower before I go to bed. I was living freely without any OCD thoughts. So I know how it feels like and how I lived when I have no OCD. But things started to change when I turned 15. I noticed that my brother doesn't have good hygiene habits. For example, he might not wash his hands thoroughly after he goes to toilet, as a teenager. And as a sister who always fights with my brother, I decided to not touch anything that he touches. So like the keyboard, the TV remote, tables and stuff. It was my choice. And then later on, I noticed that my parents also have contact with my brother. So then I decided to not touch anything that my parents touched. It was my choice. And then soon after that, I realized that touch everything in the house. In the living room, in the kitchen, in the dining room. So then I started to think, I don't want to touch anything that's outside of my bedroom. Is this still my choice? This is how a lot of OCD starts. The OCD behavior started as a choice, but then it gradually rolls like a snowball. It gets bigger and bigger, and then it gets out of control. It's not about whether you want it or not anymore. It becomes like you have to. No choice, no option. So this becomes a normal day in my life. As soon as I wake up, my brain starts categorizing things and then caching them in my brain. When I get off my bed, I need to make sure that the blanket didn't fall on the floor and my feet will go straight onto slippers. I go to toilet and then I wash my hands 4 times with soap. If I touch the sink accidentally, oops, that's redo the entire hand washing cycle. I will stand at the table to eat, not sit. At school, I will make sure that no one will see me washing my hands, because otherwise they will ask me why am I washing my hands for so long. And they will find out that I'm weird. I make sure I don't touch my shoes and feet because I think they are dirty. But somehow I can eat things that drop on the floor. As soon as I enter a room, I started to observe and remember what is clean and what is not. And I make sure I don't touch the dirty parts. If I do touch it, I'll pretend nothing happened, but actually screaming in my heart. I will start thinking how to clean it. And if I cannot clean it now, I will need to make sure that I remember that I won't forget to clean it later. And meanwhile, I will make sure that no other things will touch this dirty part. Sometimes I shower more than 2 hours because I keep messed up in the middle. I wash and clean everything, sometimes even my phone. If I have something that I cannot wash, but I think it's dirty, no matter how expensive it is, I will toss it away. If anything is not washed or cleaned that touches my bed, I will panic. I will break down, even if it is just a hair. I often cry while cleaning because I am exhausted. By caring and remembering what is clean and what is not, and my hands become so dry and cracked to bleed because of too much hand washing. And I grieve about how much of my life and time is wasted by cleaning and washing things in a way that it actually doesn't really make it cleaner. Also, no one knows. I can't let anyone know because I am afraid if they find out, they will think I am weird and they will not like me. I remember when I was in high school, I'll look into the mirror, look at myself, helplessly talk to the girl in the mirror and say, "What's wrong with you? Why are you so weird? You will always have to live like this. You're stuck. You won't be able to live with someone, not to mention getting married or have kids. Your life is done." I was helpless and hopeless. I didn't want to live anymore because I can't wait to get rid of my body. If I don't have my physical body, I know I won't need to cling anymore. If it wasn't because of my faith in Christ, I wouldn't be here today. And I hope you are not in this situation, but maybe your loved ones, your family or friends are actually going through it. You just don't know. OCD is so common yet neglected. Since I started sharing about OCD with others, I noticed that actually a lot of people have it. They just might or might not suffer from it. Based on the data that Gemini provided, OCD actually affects 1 to 2% of population. It's more common than you think. But most of them, or most of us, are just hiding. Or maybe we're just not even aware of it by ourselves. So why do we hide? Because it feels unknown. OCD has so many different streams. Like people who suffer from OCD actually have different kind of behavior. It's actually kind of hard to even notice it or like to be able to categorize it. For example, my OCD includes a lot of cleaning, but it's only about the things or the surface I touch. I don't really care about the things that go into my body, so that's why I can eat things that's on the floor. And so because back then in Taiwan, no one knows about what OCD is, but people knows what germophobic, 洁癖, is. So when I'm cleaning a lot, people might think this is germophobic. And to me, 洁癖, germophobic, this word, often associate with this person is very annoying, it's very hard to please, this person have a lot of rules, and this person is very hard to get along with. So this wrong perception of OCD make me feel like I need to hide. So then I can avoid people to think that I'm annoying or hard to get along with. Also, OCD is so unknown that even though my parents, they work in medical field, they didn't know about it. Like I was so sick when I was in middle school and high school. And my parents knew that I was going through something because I didn't want to touch them, I don't want to hug them, I don't want to touch anything that I've touched. They knew something was wrong, but they thought it was just rebellious. They couldn't tell it was OCD, even though they were doctors. So OCD is so unknown that both people who are suffering from it and the people around them actually just don't have enough knowledge to know. And I think it's very natural that for human being to feel fear and anxious when they're facing unknown. OCD is so complicated. So most of the time, people have this stereotype of like people who have OCD will like keep cleaning and then they will just want to keep everything clean. But that's actually not the truth. For example, I can do all these activities. I can do hiking, diving, I went to TMB, I can not shower for 5-10 days. And then when I go camping, I can touch anything that's on the floor, on the ground. I can be dirty, but I have OCD. So then when people see me doing all these activities, they naturally wouldn't think that I have OCD because I'm very different from the typical OCD they thought. OCD have so many different streams. Some people have multiple streams, some people have one, some people can have streams jumping to each other. For example, I only care about the things I touch. But then some people cares about how the things are aligned, whether or not they use the same clothes hanger, whether or not they line up all the utensils well, all the plates well, or whether or not they park the car well. Those are the things I don't care, but it does for some other people who have OCD. I also have a friend, he has to look at every corner of the ceiling maybe like 10 or 50 times before he goes to bed. I have another friend, every time he wakes up in the middle of the night going to the bathroom, he has to go around the chairs maybe 3 or 4 times. Then he can go to bed. So you can see, OCD appears in so many different ways that there's no limit. So that's why it's very hard for people to even recognize themselves have OCD. And for me, I didn't know I have OCD, but not germophobia, for more than 7 years. For the whole time, I thought I was just 洁癖until I shared this with one friend, and she works in medical field, and then she told me that it might be OCD. I was like, there's even a term? I was so shocked that there was a term. Because for the longest time, because my parents didn't know about it, I was like, how come there's medicine for depression, for anxiety, for all these other mental health things, but then there's nothing for me? But it's actually not true. It's not like there's no medicine for OCD. It's just because I didn't know I had OCD. Can you see how big of a problem that is? If you can't recognize what mental health issue you are having, then you cannot get help for it. And here's another thing. I think language makes it even harder for people to understand OCD, no matter if it's English or Chinese. I think oftentimes people misunderstood OCD because of the language. Because we often say things like, oh, Kathryn doesn't like to go to bed without shower. Or Kathryn doesn't like to put bags on the floor. Or Kathryn doesn't like to touch her shoes. Can you see the problem? It's not like Kathryn likes to. It's Kathryn has to. I have to shower before I go to bed. It's not because I like it. I have to not put my bag on the floor. It's not because I like it. It's not I like to carry everything on my own and not want it to relieve. It's because I have to. I have to not touch my shoes. It's not because I like it or not. It's just because I can't. If I touch it, my brain will explode. The things about OCD is that it's not because we prefer to do it or we like to do it or we want to do it. It's because we have to do it. Our brain basically wired us that we have to do it. Otherwise, our world will explode. I don't prefer compulsive hand washing. I wish I don't have to wash it. I don't want to care about whether or not someone touched my bed. I don't like to clean. I have to, and I don't have control. And what I actually really want is for all these obsessive thoughts, compulsive behavior to stop. Do you see the problem? The language we use actually easily confuses people. It makes people think that it is our preference to have all these OCD behavior and forgot that we ourselves are forced by our brain to do such behaviors, even when we don't want to do it. And that's why when people use OCD as an adjective for their stubbornness, it becomes hurtful. For example, I often have friends who don't really have OCD will use OCD as a way to say, I just have to make sure all these things are nice and well because I have OCD. But actually, it's not really OCD. It might be an OCD tendency, but it's not to a point that it actually becomes OCD. And I think this is going to very deep stuff, and I'm not going into it here. I just want you to know, when you don't have OCD and you use OCD as a way to describe your stubbornness, your big preference, it becomes very hurtful for people who actually have OCD to hear, because no one wants to have OCD. OCD is very hurtful and exhausting for the person who are suffering from it and for the people around the person. I grew up in an environment where people are not used to personal space. So it's very common for people to get very close to you physically. Like when you're on the bus or on the MRT, you naturally are okay to be very close because it's crowded. And as OCD gets more severe in me, it becomes very hard for me to go outside. Even at home, I couldn't have physical contact with my parents. When they come past by me, I would dodge them. And my dodging behavior will hurt them. And because this is not usual to my family, my behavior hurt them too. They would get very hurt and offended. I would be scolded by my family and also by myself. Because in my heart, I feel guilty. I knew if I dodge you, I will hurt you. But I have to. I knew if I don't let you take my bag, you will feel hurt. But I still have to do it. Can you see this very unhealthy cycle? It's in us, we know that we don't want to hurt them, but then we have to hurt them even though we know we will hurt them. It's so complicated. So oftentimes, people who have OCD like me feel weird, alone, hopeless, guilty, shameful, exhausted, painful. So what should we do about it? I'm healed from OCD a lot during the past 5 years. I'm not completely healed yet. I still suffer from it, but it has been so much better. Everyone will have a different healing process, and I hope sharing mine will help you. First, you have to bring it to light. One thing I found is that beside OCD itself, which is very painful and very hard to have, the thing that kills me even more is the fear and guilt and shame behind having OCD. Because I didn't want people to know about it. I have this fear of letting other people know. And that kind of choke me and hurts me even more. To break off the fear, you have to talk about it. You have to stop hiding. OCD feels shameful because I thought I was the only one. I hid it for 7 years, never talked about it to others. Even though I have OCD since 15-year-old, not until after finished college, after I moved back to Taiwan, I decided to tell my struggle with my church friends. I was so scared, I was shaking when I shared a story. And miraculously, I wasn't healed yet. But something that was very heavy on my heart got lifted. I was still scared and worried that people would judge me because of my OCD. But a wall in me was broken down when I started to share. And that's when the healing started to roll. Because I started to share, a friend of mine told me that I should talk with another friend, Johnny. Surprisingly, Johnny and I were close friends for more than 3 years. But somehow, neither of us know each other has OCD. We both hide so well. We both struggle on our own and thought that we are alone. When literally the person sitting next to us were struggling with the same thing. This might sound funny. It feels so comforting when you say you have a dirty wall in your room, you don't want to touch it, and the person understands. I might not feel the same when seeing text is printing out of the grid or things are not perfectly aligned, but I can understand how you feel when you have obsessive thoughts or compulsive behavior. Take one step at a time. It can be counseling, therapy, psychologist. Everyone has a different healing journey. For my friend Johnny, miraculously, he was instantly healed after a prayer. But for me, my healing journey has been very long and slow, and sometimes it might not be stable. Most of us has a longer healing process. Take it slow. Every small step is a big step forward. Remember to tell yourself that, good job, when you decide to not wash that towel. Now, whenever I pick up something from the floor without washing it, I told myself, good job. And if you're not struggling with OCD, you might think, come on, is it that bad? Do you actually have to wash it that many times? Is it so bad to not align things well in the grid? When you see someone acting weird, or if that person got offended or upset easily when you just shift the order of the books on the shelf, I beg you, please don't assume, don't judge, don't make a big deal about it, but also don't neglect it. You don't know what they're going through. And for people who are experiencing OCD, I hope you can start taking awareness of it and stay hopeful, seek help, and know that you are not alone. We cannot expect others to understand OCD, but we can reassure ourselves. During my severe time of OCD, I got hurt very easily if someone asked me why am I washing my hands for so long, or if someone treated me differently because of it. I would feel condemnation and judgment, even when others didn't intend to do so. I feel guilty and misunderstood when people got hurt or inconvenient because of my OCD. I feel helpless and hopeless when I think I'm the only one. But how can I share it with you right here, right now? Because I start to understand whether or not you understand OCD, it wouldn't hurt me anymore. It wouldn't change my value. It wouldn't change my worth. But it will affect people around you. I'm not here to give instructions, but I'm here to share hope. You are worthy, you are loved. If you tell a 15-year-old me that one day I can invite friends to my house and have a house party, I won't believe you. But it happened. Yes, I have OCD, but it's not my OCD. It doesn't define me, it doesn't label me. It just happened that I experienced it. And it is absolutely because of God that I can share this with you, not with fear, but with hope. Thank you for watching. Please like this video. It takes a lot of courage to share this, and I know a lot of people can be helped from it. So like, share, subscribe. Thank you. See you next time. Bye-bye.